Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another fun episode of She Rises, Amplify, and Thrive live speaker series, where we have healers, spiritual masters, gurus, thought leaders, change makers, visionaries from all around the globe here to join us to just share their insight, their wisdom, their messages with all of you around the world. And the best part about all of this is that any donations that you offer do go to the She Rises Foundation. 100% of those proceeds goes to the foundation to help support women in just stepping into their own empowerment, their own leadership, in providing scholarships for education, business startups, anything you name it. And it's really just to help us all rise up. So today we have Benjamin Bernstein. And Benjamin is an astro shaman. He is a #1 best-selling author, award-winning astrologer, and spiritual teacher. He's led over 10,000 sessions, hosts 2 podcasts, and offers tools for awakening, healing, and thriving through his Awakening Plus membership and IDA invocations. And today we're going to talk about, can spiritual awakening and healing really be this easy? Benjamin, thank you so much for joining us today. I am very excited to have you on. And I'm going to ask that question of what you posed. Can spiritual awakening and healing really be that easy?
It can. And I've been making it that easy for over 14 years. And this came as a surprise to me. The story is I was in an ayahuasca ceremony on the first day of 2011. I work a lot with ayahuasca. And out of nowhere, she just drops these invocations into my brain and tells me, okay, you can say these words to your higher self and you'll awaken. And you can say these words to your higher self and it can heal you. And that sounds way too good to be true. Yeah, right. So, but yeah, I tried it, and when I did the words, and then relaxed, and again, it was a little more wordy when she gave it to me, but I have, honed. I've continued to collaborate with her in the inner worlds, and now the invocation for embodied awakening is down to 8 words. You can just say to your higher self, maximum embodied awakening that serves highest good, please. Then
Wow.
followed by absolute passivity. You do nothing because you just delegated the work to your higher self and it does it for you. The human part of you simply receives it passively. What happens after you say those words and become passive is your higher self comes in through the top of your head and saturates you. It knows exactly how much awakening you're ready for. It's kind of like you are a sponge and it's water soaking in. And the more passive you are, the better it works. And you just wait until you feel saturated. And once you're saturated, if you've got a full embodied awakening, then I have like a 4-item checklist to let you know you got it. So if it's true that there's no mental chatter, no challenging emotion, if you're peaceful and all this is effortless and just holding itself, then that's what I call embodied awakening. Now, this can be an entry-level awakening, and my experience of awakening is that there's no end to it. I had my lock-in abiding awakening back in 2012. That was over 13 years ago. And I've actually lost track of how many additional awakenings have happened since then. My idea is that if it's an infinite universe, there might be an infinite number of awakenings. Who knows, But I know a lot of awakened people, and I don't know anyone who feels like they've hit the finish line. The other thing about awakening is, I've like, for example, when I got that first awakening, I'd had moments of awakening, like in ayahuasca ceremonies where the ceremony would be done. I was definitely, yeah, I'm divinely conscious here for sure. And then I'd go to sleep and I'd wake up the next morning and it'd be gone. And that was so frustrating. Oh my God, I want it back. But finally I went down to the jungle for a month and did 10 ceremonies and did a real deep immersion. And in ceremony number 8, the awakening came that didn't go away the next day. And the bliss I was in was beyond anything I knew was possible. Just, I mean, ecstasy beyond language. And I was like, wow, did I just hit the jackpot? Did I just accomplish, what everyone wants who's on the spiritual path? And turns out Although at that moment, given my perspective, it seemed like the greatest thing ever. It was just the first baby step off the starting line, because then I had another awakening and it was even more amazing. And this just goes on and on and on. And and it's not that I'm special, because I'm not. In fact, for a long time, I had no spiritual awareness at all. I was really the slow kid in class, hardly able to feel anything in the inner world or see anything. But because I was dogged and determined and I drank a lot of ayahuasca, all that gunk that was on me started, flushing off, and layer by layer, all that heavy that was blocking my inner perception started clearing away, and I started gaining perception. Then eventually I became more, not just consistently awakened, but more and more deep. And that continues. I still do ayahuasca ceremonies every month with a wonderful shaman here in Western North Carolina. And the reason I keep doing, I think I'm past 350 ceremonies now.
Wow.
And I don't know if I'll ever stop, because you never know when you're going to go into ceremony and the medicine will say, okay, here's this level of gunk that's blocking yet your next awakening, and we'll clear it for you in ceremony. And once it's done, then another principle I want to communicate today is the fastest route to accelerated awakening is healing. And by the way, if there's noise around me, I've got lawn guys outside the window, and I apologize if there's any background. Hopefully Zoom is clearing that away.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
fine.
It'll be passing if it's there. And what I found is the more intensity your healing crisis is giving you, the more challenging it is, the more awesome the awakening breakthrough is going to be once you master the challenge. I call it the slingshot effect. So the further you pull back the rubber band in a slingshot, I'm sorry, yeah. So the farther the rock flies. So anyone who's in a real difficult period right now, just know that it can be mastered, because one thing I've observed, having done actually over 12,000 client sessions now,
Wow.
as an astrologer and a shaman, I've had more people than I can remember come to me in the midst of a big dark night of the soul crisis and similar things. And if they can get through it, and I've had the privilege of guiding people through the healing process, they can get them past that moment, the gloriousness of their awakening is just indescribable. So just know, if you're hearing me, if you're in a really intense period of challenge, that's setting you up for an amazing breakthrough once you master it, and it can be mastered. The universe is a fair game, and no human will be hit with a challenge that's unsolvable. If it seems like it is, it's either because you haven't found the right person or technique to help you, or you haven't kind of stepped into your power and mastery next level where you can deal with the thing. Most often it's old traumas that are being fired up that causes the crisis. And if you can and we'll talk a little today about the healing invocation, where if you just ask your higher self to heal for you, it can often clear away amazing amounts of stuff really fast. Most people are suffering and stuck in their stuff because they just don't know how to clear it. And the technique ayahuasca gave me, not just for awakening, but for healing. And that one is maximum healing that serves highest good, please. You say that, and the follow-up on that is you just relax and you feel where it's uncomfortable. It could be physical, could be emotional, could be both. You just notice, where does it feel the worst right now? And wherever it is, after you've said those words and put your higher self on the job, you simply feel it. Just pure somatic awareness. And your awareness is like a spotlight shining to that area that needs healing. The higher self then gets to work, gets right in there, stirs it up, and flushes it away. And most people say they can actually feel the heavy energy draining out their hands or their feet. Goes down to Mother Earth, who's happy to take it from you.
Mhm.
And I've literally worked with people who had been carrying a trauma their entire lives, who cleared the entire trauma in like a single healing round. So there's no amount of time it has to take necessarily. If you really just delegate to the higher self, and then if you really get out of the way and just feel and don't try to help from the ego, the higher self can do miraculous work, and sometimes it can happen really fast. I can never guarantee a particular outcome in a particular moment, but I have seen many healings that happen really powerfully and really fast. So I think I've gone way beyond the scope of your question, but
No, that's amazing. I actually have a few questions in there because
okay.
if I may. So you were talking about your awakening process, and from what it sounds like, you had a very good experience each time. And one of the questions that I often get when I'm working with somebody, they'll ask me, am I going through awakening? And I said, well, I kind of let them explore it. And I'll say, well, explain to me why you feel that way. And then
Mm.
they always talk about all of the awful stuff that's
Hmm.
happening that sometimes can happen with an awakening. But then you also mentioned the dark night of the soul.
Hmm.
So for those that maybe that are either on this call or are watching for the first time, like I said, your awakening seemed to be pretty easy. Is it not easy, but good?
Well, I'd have to elaborate a bit on that to agree with that. Well, for me, again, because I had so much heavy stuff and didn't even know it,
Mhm.
because a fish doesn't know what's in water, right? And I was so covered over with stuff, I had no idea. I was so asleep spiritually. I didn't even know how covered over I was. I had no perspective. I couldn't remember anything other than the state I'd been in. It felt like it was normal. What does the blues song say? The blues song says, "Been down so long, looks like up to me," right? So, and it wasn't until, I mean, I was in a spiritual school for 20 years back when I lived in Oklahoma, following a guru there, and did my best. But in perspective, see, I was making just tiny incremental progress. Was a Vipassana Buddhist for 5 years. That helped a little bit more, but still, it was like a really slow pace. It wasn't until I started drinking ayahuasca and working with San Pedro and mushrooms that I went to warp speed. And for me, the plant spirit teachers, they're called master plant teachers in South America, that really lit it on fire and got to work and did the really big work fast. And I'm not here to say you have to drink ayahuasca, because ayahuasca gave me these invocations. You can get much of the benefit you would get from doing something like that without having to drink a psychoactive substance. So again, I'm not trying to promote ayahuasca or any kind of psychoactive ceremony here. What I'm saying is that's how I got there.
Mhm.
And it was in that ceremony that I got the invocations. But the invocations, I mean, in my Awakening Plus membership, a dozen times a month, I'm holding online Zoom calls, and we're doing these processes with invocations and other stuff. And people are reporting their experiences, and they're saying exactly the same kind of things that I hear after in the sharing after ayahuasca ceremonies. The kind of quality of experience they have, the healings and the awakenings, are the same language I hear in that context. Now, again, I'm not going to begin to say that working with my invocations is going to give you the same exact experience as drinking psychoactive plant spirit medicine. The medicine is much stronger and will probably work much quicker. But the good news is you don't have to do that if it's not your thing, or you can't get to it very often. These invocations you can use every day as much as you want, and it'll never be too much. And they can really light your path on fire a lot faster than any other way. And again, I alluded to this earlier, but the thing I learned, and I really want to drill this as a really key learning I've had, is that you can use ego effort, you can visualize and chant and do yoga asanas and do all these spiritual practices for hours a day. And yes, you will make some progress and some movement toward that. But in my experience, having done that for decades before the invocations came, these invocations are so much faster and easier and more effective than any kind of discipline I brought to bear. And I'm a disciplined guy. I got a kind of Virgo and Capricorn in my chart. I can dig in there and just go, go, go. And I was I was a I was a good student when I was doing my practices, but there's just no human on the planet, no matter how skilled, no matter how expert, no matter how trained, that is going to be a fraction as effective at healing and awakening as their higher self is. It's not a
Mhm.
fair contest. The higher self is just better at that, right? So why go to all this trouble and, put in a ton of sweat equity with a bunch of ego-based practices when you can just like say, higher self, hey, just would you do it for me, please? And relax and actually get a quicker, more potent, more effective outcome. And that's what the invocations do. And if anyone doubts me, they can just go on Amazon, where my book that I wrote about it is called, I'll give you the 15-word title here. It's Instant Divine Assistance, Your Complete Guide to um, uh, Fast, Easy Spiritual Awakening and Healing. I might have got a word or two out of place there, but Instant Divine Assistance by Benjamin Bernstein is the book. And look at the reviews. Last I checked, there were over 150 reviews, close to 5-star average. And these people have never worked with you. They just got the book and did the invocations out of the book, and they're talking about all these profound healings and awakenings they've had. I've never met the people who left most of the reviews. So there's kind of objective support for how powerful the
Good.
invocations can be, just learning them out of a book. But so I just wanted to let you know there is some objective evidence for them working without having to work one-on-one with me.
Oh,
So yeah, I wanted a bit there. I apologize. But again,
no,
the
that's great.
basic premise I'm here to share is you can delegate your healing and awakening to your higher self. If you're not into higher self, call on whatever divine being you have a relationship with or choose to work with. And that divine being will be happy to step in and do it too. And if you just ask for what you want, the healing or awakening, you relax and let the divine being come in and do it for you. The speed, efficacy, and ease is just off the charts compared to any personal ego-based discipline I've ever done.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tell you, I absolutely do agree with that. I do believe that healing can be very easy. And I think sometimes we have a tendency to overcomplicate it because we think that in order for something to work, it has to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I do absolutely agree. I mean, I've had times where I'm just like, okay, higher self, I'm going to give this to you. I'm going through
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm going to let you have it. And um and I'm gonna tell you the part that I had struggled with was, you give it up and then you kind of trust and you're like waiting and waiting.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to confirm what you say is when I give it up to the higher self and then I just let go and let be and feel. I think the other
Mm-hmm.
important part is to feel and
Feel
experience it without judgment and
right.
trusting that it's passing through your body. Healing happens quickly and it can be quite phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you're talking about this because I do think it's important for people to understand that doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be this huge production. It could be just as simple as asking. And
Yeah. Now, if there's a difficulty to it, it's your willingness to feel discomfort.
Mhm.
Now, the higher self does have a prime directive, which is no overwhelm allowed. So I can say this with confidence because, again, having taught these invocations for over 14 years, having led literally thousands of people through them, I've never seen a single case of overwhelm. It may get intense, but it never gets too much. So if
Mhm.
a person is willing to just, whatever gets through, if they're willing to just feel it and just be with it, and again, and I'll be a little more particular about the technique of the healing invocation. As stuff comes up, the trick is to just keep your attention on sensation. Now,
Mm.
it's very common for thoughts and images to be swirling all around, and they can be real tempted to just go off and think about stuff or look at stuff, but that won't help you clear it, in my experience. It's the feeling of it that is the ticket. So it's okay for that stuff to be there along with any other distractions. You don't fight or try to change anything other than feeling. You just let it all be there. It's all welcome to the party, right? But you just put your attention on the sensations, whether that's the physical sensation of the body, or if you're aware of energetic realms beyond the physical body, you feel what's happening there. Whatever your feeling awareness is, material or immaterial, you just feel. And if you want to really get fine-tuned, you use the minimum effort needed to feel it. If I can feel it fully, let's say there's a effort scale of 0 to 100. Okay. A lot of people just jump right to 100. Oh, I do it, and in fact, a level of 3 or 4 might actually be optimal. What I've learned is if you're using more effort than is actually required to feel it completely, you'll slow it down because extra effort from the human kind of makes it harder for the divine to get in there and do its thing. It's like you're putting a wave out that kind of pushes it back a little bit with extra unneeded effort. And in fact, many people, even in the embodied awakening invocation, where you're just asking the divine to saturate you, in most cases, the optimal effort level is 0. I kid you not. When I lead individuals and groups, I can empathically tune in to the person or the group and feel what's happening. And it's when I invite them, I call it the minimum effort game. It's like, we got to go on. So let's see how much effort we really need, shall we? And then we drop to 0. And that's when I feel most people just pop right in. It's like the moment they go to 0, it's done. And because of this, once people get the hang of the embodied awakening invocation, from invoking it to getting fully into it usually takes like 5 or 10 seconds.
Wow.
I kid you not. Again, it's not something you have to struggle and make it and construct. It's like it's already there. You're calling in the part of you that's already awake. Done. You just have to let it in. And therefore there's no amount of time it has to take because it's a done deal. You're just opening the door and allowing it to enter. And again, like I said, you can start with what I call a starter awakening. Again, if you meet those criteria, no mental chatter, no challenging emotion, peaceful, effortless, that is an embodied awakening. Now, like I've already said, it can get infinitely better, endlessly. But if you hit those 4 benchmarks, you're there. And even if you don't get 100% to each one, any movement toward that is awesome. Better to have a little more toward awakening than less of it, right? So even if you get just a little bit more, a little less mental chatter, a little less challenging emotion, that's good movement in the right direction. And eventually you keep it up and you will get to, no, none, and peaceful and effortless. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So, quick question, I do feel like we're moving into times where, or maybe it's just me because I'm like, I am tired of efforting.
Yeah.
I spent my entire life, I feel like, in the hustle. And, and I kind of feel like that when I first started out doing my healing, that I was kind of in the hustle. And I love that you said to be at a zero when you go, when, the effort that you use it should be at a zero and you will get what it is that you need. Do you feel that do you have a
Well,
question?
not again. There's a asterisk on that.
Okay.
Most people hit embodied awakening at zero, but
Okay.
I do have some people that go to zero and they say, I can't feel anything now with no effort. I'm not even aware of the energy. And for them, I say, okay, now just put teeny tiny bits of effort back into the mix, a little more to feel again, and just add back enough effort where you can feel the energy again and just
Mhm.
hold it that very small amount of effort. Inevitably, it's way less effort than they thought they would have needed before they, tested and see how much was actually required.
Oh, I love
So
that.
it's either zero effort or the bare minimum effort needed to feel what's happening with the energy.
I have to tell you, when you say that, I'm just like, oh, that feels like, even just thinking that, it feels amazing. But it made me realize is that, because like I said before, I would like hustle and I'd really put in like I'm going to say a lot of effort to my healing.
Mm-hmm.
Now with what you're talking about, I was like, wow, I wonder how much of that was my ego. Because,
Hmm.
my ego is sitting there going, okay, I got to heal this. This is what I have to do. And then when I'm done with the healing, it is almost like I felt this sense of overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you're sharing, I think, is really beautiful because I think it really does prove the point that healing does not have to be that difficult.
Yeah.
And
And may I extrapolate on that a bit?
yes, absolutely.
Now this may surprise some people, but you don't even have to know what it is that's being healed. Yeah, in fact, I would say when I think of my whole trajectory, most of the big healings that have happened, I had no idea what it even was. But time and again, whether in an ayahuasca ceremony or working with invocations, I would feel this gunk come out. Oh my God, heavy, thick, nasty, ooh, gross, And if
Mhm.
I just did a healing invocation and I would feel it leave, it either drains away as I described earlier, or it can just change to love and light and be great. Um, but I can feel the awareness of it, but there's no thought, there's no image. It's just energy, heavy energy leaving. Okay, and I call those ignorance as bliss healings because you got the full healing, and when I did those, that particular flavor of unpleasantness never came back. So it's done. Whatever drains out and goes to Mother Earth, that stuff is never coming back. It can't because Mother Earth takes it and she composts it. She changes it. There's nothing left to come back. Okay. So whatever you clear with a healing invocation is permanently gone. It's not like a band-aid that's going to come back later. That is completed. Okay. Um, so the I'm sorry, let me get focused again. So the just feeling it and not having to know what it is one way it can happen. Now, sometimes it's actually really important that you know what that thing is, in which case your higher self will pop in a thought or an image to kind of let you know, hey, this is what this is. Okay. And if you're smart, in my opinion, you'll say, okay, noted, thanks for telling me that. Now I'm going to forget about that and go back to just feeling. Right. Because one of my catchphrases when you're doing a healing vocation, There's no thought that can help you, no matter how helpful it seems. Because as soon as you're in thought realm, you ain't healing. In internal family systems therapy, which I often integrate into my shamanic work, they have a cute little saying. They say, no healing happens in the prefrontal cortex, which is a kind of fancy way of saying you can't think your way to healing.
Hmm.
And my own metaphor of that is, think of all the people you know who've done years of psychotherapy. They have a really keen understanding of their trauma, but they are still carrying it around. If
Hmm.
you could actually heal through mental stuff, there'd be a lot more healed people out there. But in complete contrast to that, you can do a healing invocation and feel gunk come up and flush it out, have no idea what it is, and have a rapid and complete healing of whatever that thing was. So, I'm 65, and I'm at the point where if I don't have to expend extra effort, I'm not gonna, you know. So I'm very predisposed now to things that are fast, easy, and effective. And these invocations fit the bill on
That's amazing. I was gonna say I'm 48 and I'm on board. I'm on your train right there. I am done.
that.
I am done with, the overextending and overexerting. And when I really, and I'll be honest, when I really did learn and really embodied what the higher self can do,
Hmm.
that is when I started feeling, I'm like, oh my gosh, all I have to do is just hand this over to my higher self. How easy is that? Why are we not
Yeah.
telling everybody this? Why aren't we sharing this? And I came from the mental health system, so I have my I
Mm.
have my own opinion as to why that is, which I won't
Yes, there
um,
are forces that are less interested in healing us than making money from us. Yes.
yes, yes, thank you. But it really is that simple. And so I want to talk about, because maintaining that embodied awakening, especially how can that help? Because we are navigating some very challenging times right now.
Oh my God, yes.
And so how can we use that to just have more of a calm experience and really like skillfully move through that?
Okay, so let me start by describing the core things you get when you're in embodied awakening. These are universally true when you're in the state. Okay. When you're in embodied awakening, there's more harmony, flow, ease, and grace in everything you do. Everything you are responsible for, you do more responsibly and more joyfully. Instead of having to think so much, your intuition works better, and increasingly you just know what to do. And you also get full body euphoria. There is a bliss. I mean, I literally wake up every morning and I'm already in a state of ecstasy. Every morning, like I wake up and I'm just in bliss, just because I've got a good awakening going. All right. And it's there all the time. So you can't even imagine how awesome life will get just because you're in the embodied awakening. Let me also quickly mention how easy it is to maintain on a given day. So the recommended practice I give if someone wants to do this, as soon as possible every morning, you do the embodied awakening invocation, which we are going to do here in this event before we're done. Okay.
I love it.
You say maximum embodied awakening that serves highest good please to your higher self. You relax, you let it in. And again, like I say, once you get the hang of it, 5 or 10 seconds, you're there. Run the checklist. I'm good. Go about your business. Then, if at any point during the day you notice you've lost it, which means, oh, there's mental chatter, there's challenging emotion, I'm not peaceful, your higher self is at least partly out of sync with you if that's happening. You
Mhm.
repeat the 8 words out loud or even mentally, take a moment of passivity to let it back in and refresh, which again just takes a few seconds and you're good again. So, the people I know, some people who've done this for over 10 years as a daily practice. And they say, yeah, on a really tough day, when I have to refresh a lot, I might spend a grand total of 5 or 10 minutes, a few seconds at a time, refreshing. And that's all it takes, even on a difficult day, to keep that awakening strong through the day.
Mhm.
So it's a really easy thing. Now, the how that affects the society is also cool. The Hindus have a concept called Indra's web. Everything is connected to every other thing, a vast web of connection. Western people talk about the butterfly effect. The butterfly flaps its wings, and halfway across the world, a hurricane happens. So every little thing affects every other thing somehow. And especially all humans are energetically linked to all other humans. So any person who heals or awakens even a little bit transmits that upgrading energy and makes it available to every other human. So even if a person was just totally self-centered, all they ever thought about was their own healing and awakening, the fact that they're doing it is a blessing to all other beings because they're putting the potential of healing and awakening out into the field a little more strongly. So you doing your thing helps everyone else, sort of automatically. However, what usually happens, people who are actually, a little deeper on the path of awakening. Now, again, let me just give the usual arc. Usually at first, a person, it's all they can do just to help themselves. There's so much stuff coming up and so much intensity that I just got my own healing awakening. That's all I can handle. Right. So once they clear enough of that sludge and they're a little more stable, then the higher self is okay. They're ready to serve a little more. So you'll start getting little intuitive nudges. Hey, if you want to serve in this way, you can do that. And because it's the path of love and light, you're never forced to do anything, but you're given opportunities. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'll do that. And then you take advantage of whatever that service opportunity is, and you serve externally a bit. It could be external action in the physical world. It could be an inner, you might be working behind the scenes just in the inner world. There's all kinds of service. Okay. And then if you get that, then if they say, oh, they go, okay, here's another assignment, kind of next level, but take it higher. Okay. Also, this correlates if you're doing your practices, and remember that every good healing or piece of shadow work or trauma healing or emotional healing or psychological healing or whatever term you use, everyone successfully done awakens you automatically. In fact, when you do the healing invocation, partway through, this nice feeling energy starts to come in. And if it's a full healing, by the time you're done, whatever uncomfortableness you felt is gone. And instead, you literally are in bliss. You're in an altered state at the end of that process because gunk cleared. You rose automatically as a byproduct of the process to your next level of awakening, and you're now established there. That's your new baseline. Okay. Earlier, I said the fastest way to accelerate awakening is to do good healing work. And
Mhm.
that's what happens. You automatically awaken. If let me give two examples.
Yeah.
Person A is just all they care about is awakening, but they're spiritual bypass, and they've got it. I can go up into the upper realms and hang out with the angels and the Ascended Masters, but that's all they're doing, and they're not facing any heavy stuff. They come back, and their human self hasn't changed. Right? So they had a nice vacation, but no real change. Person B has no interest in spiritual awakening, but they're really into shadow work. They say, I really want to face and heal all these traumas. Person B will awaken so much faster than person A. Does that make sense?
It makes complete
Because
sense
their
what you're
awakening
saying.
comes as an automatic byproduct of doing effective healing work.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I'm making extreme contrast to make the point. Most people are somewhere in the middle, but
Mhm.
that's a really critical point I wanted to make. So basically, so the first way to serve the collective is to heal and awaken yourself. You must start in your apprenticeship and get yourself clear enough where you can be a capable instrument. Then once you are capable enough, you will be given by your higher self or divine helpers appropriate opportunities to serve, which you can take or leave. If you take them, you do it. And then it just upgrades, upgrades, upgrades. The cool thing is once in a while you have an awakening and new capacities come online. Oh, wow, I can just,
Mhm.
whoa. In Hinduism, they call it siddhis, siddhis, abilities that arise spontaneously at certain levels of awakening. And these can be used to amplify your service.
Mhm.
You always want to use them on the path of love and light for highest good of all, if you're on the path of love and light. So it just keeps going. I mean, I can do things now that I couldn't have dreamed of doing even 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
And another correlated point is you literally cannot imagine your next awakening. Like I said, I've lost track of how many I've had since the big one lock in back in 2012. But each time it's like, it's a complete surprise every single time. Whoa, it feels like this. Whoa, cool.
Mhm.
And you mean I can do this now? Whoa, isn't that great, right?
Mhm.
And the trick, of course, is that at these levels, there's no language. I can't verbalize the states or some of the abilities that come online. They're literally beyond human conception. But because you're now conscious at that level, you can do it and you can be it. You just can't come back and put words on it because it's literally beyond the mental realm.
Mhm.
A quick description of that. If you think of Russian dolls, okay, a human, the innermost doll is the physical body, which has its thing, but it can't know any of the other bodies. Then you've got your emotional body beyond that.
Mhm.
And then the mental bodies beyond that. But beyond the mental body is all the spiritual bodies. There's many of them.
Mhm.
But because they're beyond the mental body is incapable of comprehending them. It's above its pay grade. So you can throw metaphors and similes at it, and you can say bliss, ecstasy, euphoria, and then you run out of words. But even those are like the Zen people with the finger pointing at the moon. It's not the moon. So you just have to be there. But
Yeah.
I can assure you, it's awesome. It's so worthwhile. There is nothing more satisfying in a human life. When I think of how am I wealthy, my number one wealth is my divine consciousness
Mhm.
and the joy of, being there and sharing it with those who are interested in learning about it.
Uh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes, I love that. And I agree with you. Like it is about it's I mean, the best way, I've had people ask me and I'm like, you just need to experience it. Like, I can't describe it. It's all in
Mhm.
the experience of what it feels like. And you're right. Every time that you awaken and every time you open up a new gift or a new capability of what you can do. But it all stems from do I'm going to say doing the work. And I don't mean like the heavy
Well,
lifting of the work, but
letting your higher self do the work is what I would say.
yes, exactly. But doing the healing, right?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And just to your case in point, I've seen it. Like I said, I worked in the mental health field for many years, and
Mm.
people would just keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And it's interesting because even in the mental health field, very spiritual. And I would sit here and I'd watch, and I was like, they would walk out with that moment of feeling so good, but then
Mm.
come back a week later in the same spot. And the whole time I would sit there and think, they're just trying to spiritual bypass and they don't even know that that's what they're doing.
Right.
And wondering why they go up and then just fall down.
Hmm.
And it really is. And I'm emphasizing this because I really want people to understand it is about the self healing. It is about taking the time to do that. And it to me, that is what self-love is taking that time to do that self-healing.
Yeah. Yeah. I do a lot of shamanic healing work with clients
Yep.
and in my Awakening Plus membership too. And what I always try to do, if possible, is teach the person how to do it for themselves. And
Mhm.
these invocations are so quick and easy to learn. They work so well. If I can have a person come to me and I can teach them how to invoke their awakening and watch them do it and make sure it's happening. And if I can teach them how to call in healing and see them happen, okay, I say, now, I could have given you a fish today and you would have been happy today, but hungry tomorrow. But
Mhm.
I just taught you how to fish. And now you can call in your own healing and awakening for the rest of your life from the same place I and everybody else gets it from.
Yep.
So I'd much rather teach a person to DIY and empower them on their path than make them dependent on me or having to go to any other person for what they need.
Yes.
I want to help people just learn to do it yourself. It's so much better than having to keep turning to other sources to get your healing and awakening on. Now,
Yeah.
at the same time, I wouldn't have an online membership if that group support wasn't helpful. Because
Mhm.
in reality, especially with things as dark and intense as they are right now in the world, especially in America, um, there's a lot of heavy energy, and it will take down anyone who's not strong enough to resist it. One of the just to get a little more serious here, the way the game seems to be set up on Earth is you have people who are on the path of level and they're awakening and making progress, but there's also darker beings who are looking to take advantage of them, and any unhealed trauma you have, they'll try to exploit it. Any weakness you have, they'll try to exploit it. So that's why healing and expanding your power and consciousness is essential on the path. You will be challenged. You absolutely will meet these dark beings, either operating independently or through humans or through institutions, right?
Mhm.
So experiencing the challenge at the appropriate level and then mastering it to the next level is part of the game. And I don't know anyone actually who just kind of popped in and didn't have to face any of that. There might be rare exceptions. But for most of us, facing the challenging energies or beings is just part of how it's your apprenticeship. It's how you learn. Okay. That's how the earth game is set up. You're on the path of sending love and light, but you must be met with appropriate challenges. And in a way, those dark beings and circumstances do us a favor because they show us here's where you're still open. Here's where you're still wounded. Here's where you still have a weakness. And then because these beings will be actively trying to exploit it, that, okay, that's where the next piece of work is. Let's do a healing invocation. And you'll feel the unpleasant, okay, maximum healing, etc. Feel it, let it flush out. And that might be all it takes to heal that, close that opening the dark beings can't get to anymore. And then you're awake. And then at each new level, there's a new appropriate challenge that comes along.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So,
Expansion. To me,
yeah.
well, to me, when I hear that, because I mean, challenges are inevitable unless, unless you said, like you kind of said it, you're kind of, I guess, the exception. But I mean, as much as I don't like the challenge because it is uncomfortable,
Mm,
but then I always flip that script and I'm like, wait a minute, here's my opportunity to expand and to grow. And then, like we were talking about, then you get to go to that next level of awakening and
yes.
seeing what I love to call it magic, like what magical thing can I do now. So I absolutely love it.
Mm.
So we have so many people here for you, so a huge thank you to everyone who has hopped onto this call. I'm so grateful to have all of you here. We will take questions from the audience, either questions, comments from the audience. You can either raise your virtual hand, come off mute, or if you prefer to put it in the chat, you absolutely can. And I will be happy to read it. Do we have any questions or
Yeah, and
comments?
also, Kelly, I
Oh,
do want to reserve some time for me to actually lead that embodied awakening invocation too. So we should reserve 10 minutes for that if we can.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I will make sure that we get that in.
Okay.
Absolutely. We definitely want to have that. So we have
Okay.
about, so as of right now, we've got about 10 minutes of questions. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they would like to share? Or maybe they're just ready to jump right into the invocation.
Well, we could do that and then open it up to
Yeah.
questions after.
Let's go ahead and do that. We'll shift those gears and we'll go into the invocation, and then I'll be happy to open it up again. And again, everyone, if you don't want to come off mute, you absolutely can put it in the chat. I'm more than happy to read it for you. So go ahead, Benjamin. I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Well, fortunately, I've actually given most of the setup throughout our conversation that I would normally give so we can get more quickly to the actual technique.
I love it.
So what this does is it invites your higher self to merge with your human self. This happens to the greatest extent that serves highest good. You are not going to get overwhelmed. And if you don't like it, you can go back to the way you were. It's kind of like your body is a car. Your ego is going to voluntarily move to the passenger seat so your higher self can drive. But again, if the ego doesn't like the higher self's driving or it just wants to drive again, you can think yourself behind the wheel. The higher self will step right away. It will not stay there if you don't want it. And you're back under ego control if you prefer that. Can't imagine why you would, but it's available. um, I've again, I don't think I need to repeat the things I've already said, but it's awesome, and there is no downside that I'm aware of, and I'd love to do it. So, what I invite everyone to do now, assuming it's safe, to close your eyes and give us your full attention. So close your eyes and just feel the current feeling of your body overall. And if you have awareness of your energy body, that tingly stuff in and around you, feel that as well, if you can. So now you've got the baseline, the current feeling of the physical and energetic bodies. So now we're going to ask the higher self to come in. We're about to say the 8 words, and then after we say them, I'll guide you through the rest of the process. So if you can do this out loud, that's awesome. If you have to say it silently, it'll still work. So here we go, speaking to the higher self. Maximum embodied awakening
Maximum embodied awakening
that serves highest good, please.
that serves highest good, please.
All right, now let the words go. Now you have one job only, which is to feel. Energy is now coming in through the top of your head into your body. If you can feel that, just feel it. If you cannot feel it, just feel your body. I'll speak in terms of feeling energy from here forward, though. So the more passive you are, the better it works. So when I say passive, what I mean is no effort, no willpower, no trying to make anything happen, no stopping anything from happening, No deliberate visualizing or imagining. You're just feeling only. If you get distracted during the process, distraction means your attention is anywhere other than feeling the energy. You'll notice that, and you gently return your attention to feeling the energy. Distractions are welcome in the background. We don't try to change them or fight them. You just let them be there too, but you focus on the feeling of the energy. The final nuance, as I described earlier, is to use the least effort needed to feel the energy, the minimum effort game. And as always, we're going to start at 0, knowing that whatever happens is fine. So please drop your effort level to 0. Just be. And I'm going to be silent for a few seconds while you do that. Okay. So if you're feeling the energy at 0, stay there. If you have lost awareness of the energy at 0, then add teeny tiny bits of effort back into the mix, little by little, until you feel the energy again, the effort of just trying to feel the energy. And stop as soon as you feel it at all. So if 0 works, stay there. Otherwise, a little bit of effort just to feel what's happening. Now, Spirit gives me the ability to feel what's happening to all the people who will do this recording after it. And a lot of people are in embodied awakening. So well done, those. So I'm going to remind you what's true when you're in embodied awakening. It's a 4-item checklist. So just note yes or no for each of these. Right now, is there no mental chatter? Right now, is there no challenging emotion? Right now, are you peaceful? And is all this happening with no effort at all? It's totally holding itself. If all that's true, then you're in embodied awakening. If you got partway there, yay, you made some progress. Keep going and you'll get the full one soon enough. And that's it. Now, the cool thing is, this is a recording. If you need a little more time, pause. Give yourself a little more time. And then when you either got there or got as close as you can hit play again and pick up here. So, Kelly, how did you do?
I that was, I don't know, that was incredible when I finally let it go because I could feel that I was holding on a little bit. Um, it was just like I felt just, I honestly, from the top of my head down, just um I kind of felt all mushy and gooey, like it just kind of went like I melted into the chair of it.
Nice. Okay,
Um,
did you meet the checklist items? Did you hit them all?
I'm gonna be honest. The mental chatter, I had a little bit of it,
Okay.
but the other parts were yeses. I didn't feel the discomfort that I was experiencing went away. I'm still feeling pretty euphoric right now.
Oh,
Sorry.
good.
Gotta
Okay.
get the brain back. Okay. So but yeah, I'll say the other parts of the checklist, like I was like, whoa, yes, that's amazing. I had a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of chatter,
Well,
but
you're hosting an event right now. It might be hard to
yeah,
set that entirely in this context. I understand that.
yeah, but
But yeah, so as I feel the field we're in, both the live people and the people who will be on the recording later, it feels pretty good. I think a lot of people got there.
yeah,
So
yeah,
again, just as a reminder, if you want to try this tool, again, here's how. Every morning, as soon as you can, just say to your higher self, maximum embodied awakening that serves highest good, please. Relax and become completely passive. Give it a few seconds. And if the higher self come in, and if you're passive enough, you'll be an embodied awakening in a matter of seconds. Once you're there, go about your business. Refresh as needed if it slips. And I literally, here's the thing, as I started giving this 14 years ago, I would say, and by the way, if you know of a DIY technique that works better than this for your healing and awakening, please let me know what it is. Because, I think it's amazing, but I'm always open to improvement. I've never had anybody come back in 14 years with something they say works better than this for DIY healing and awakening.
yeah.
So there still might be something out there that's better. I just haven't found it yet. But what I do have confidence in is it's an effective tool. It works well, certainly
Mhm.
well enough. So if people want to get into this, and in fact, this might be an interesting moment to mention the free offering
Yeah,
before
I'm
we
like,
get into.
keep going. You're doing
All right,
good.
yeah. So if you want to go deeper with this, she's going to put a link to a free video, or you can just go to astroshaman.com/invocations,
Mhm.
and that's a 1 hour video of me leading not just this, but the invocations for healing and calling in any kind of energy you want and flowing highest good energy to other beings. And not only do I describe them, I lead them in the video, and the energy of the process is there. So if you want to just, tip your toe in the water with a free thing that kind of has you experience the invocations, you can do that. And then, of course, if you're into that and you want to really dive in deeper, then my Awakening Plus membership is a fabulous way to accelerate, get group support, and have a bunch of other events that usually incorporate invocations, but do a bunch of other stuff too, everything from really gentle to really intense, depending on your taste.
I love it. Yes, and again, this will be in Benjamin's Speaker Center. I'm going to put it in there as soon as we are done with this interview so that you can have access to it. And then I'm like, we'll go a little bit out of order. Do you also want to share the donation gift?
Yeah. So this is 3 months of my Awakening Plus membership. This is for new people, not existing members. But for as little as $25, you can get 3 months of the membership. Normally it's $19 a month, you know, so it's quite a bargain. Um,
Mhm.
and again, just a capsule description of the membership. We do at least a dozen events per month on Zoom, everything from gentle to intense, always focused on healing or awakening. There's also some community support events as well, so people can get to connect. We have a Signal chat group where members can get on there and support and connect with each other anytime. There's a very strong group support element as well. There's a number of events, like every month we do this event called Individual, Group, and Global Healing, where several members get in. Most people call it a hot seat. We call it a love seat, okay? Where they receive focused healing from the entire group. And people have profound healings there every single week. And that's a regular event. We also do all kinds of other, we've got several dozen types of events we weave in and out. So it is a lot of variety, a lot of intensity. Plus, most of the events go in an archive. As of this moment, there's over 800 archived events, each of which is just as powerful as the Zoom event it was on, because the Divine Allies are just as present in the recording as they were on the Zoom call. And they're even categorized. We have a best of page. And many of the events, the allies tell me that was the best of, put it in that category. And it's broken down by category chronologically. So you can be assured, if even if you just did the best of events, you'd have hundreds of events. You get in there, and the kind of thing you want is there, and it's described. There's little descriptions of each one. So there's a really deep library of stuff that can support you, plus six courses with more coming, including a complete course that covers everything in my book. And there's even a course that tells you how to do self-guided internal family systems therapy, working with your inner parts to heal them and reintegrate them. So there's a lot of value. And even after your 3 months, you could continue for as little as $9 a month. The scholarship rate, it's usually 19 a month, but if you need scholarship rates, you can have it. Same thing. So you get the same membership. So over the years, we've been in business for over 5 years, have a lot of members. And what I'm trying to do is make it an extremely affordable way where you can really turbocharge your journey of healing and awakening individually and as part of an online group. Many people who are there are very strongly awakened. We've got a really great group feel we've developed over the years. And it's just a beautiful way. A lot of people I meet, they're on the path, but they're not part of a group. They're trying to do it solo. It's so easy to get taken down by negative forces when you're solo. And even if it's just an online group like Awakening Plus, it can be a powerful support for staying on the path and accelerating the work. So
Yes.
I guess that's a sufficient description of that.
Oh, that's amazing. That is a tremendous value. And yes, and also just to reiterate, the donations do go to a very good cause of providing scholarships for women who are really ready to lead and maybe just need a little bit more support. But like what you described, even for what did you say, 19.99 a month?
Oh, well, 19 at the regular
$19
rate
a
if
month.
they can afford it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's incredible. And then and then a scholarship if they need that type of help. Like this is
Hmm.
I'm totally doing a plug for you. This sounds tremendous.
Yeah.
Like people, you have to grab this. If even just what we experience now with the invocation and then everything else that you offer, I think the best part of it is support because I feel like we are in times where support is so needed. And to find that community where you are supported, where you belong, where everybody is just there to root you on and love you as you are, I think is amazing. So
Mm.
we do have two comments in the chat about your
Oh,
membership.
okay.
Autumn said that she loves the membership. Stu said, best membership I've ever had. Great for awakening, healing, learning, wonderful group.
Wow.
So you've got amazing supporters for the membership in the group. Thank you everybody for sharing that.
Thank you, Ottomans too. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I love it. Um, All right. Well, everyone, we have now come to the end. A huge thank you to, again, Benjamin, to you, to everyone that is on this call and everyone that will be tuning in on the replay. Thank you so much. My heart is always so grateful when beautiful speakers like you, Benjamin, come and you share your wisdom and your insight with everybody. And then again, for everybody else that comes and participates. So, so much love from my heart to all of you. And we'll be back again next week. Benjamin, please come back. I would love to
Oh,
invite you to come back anytime. Uh, your energy, it just who you are, you have just a beautiful soul. So thank you for sharing that with me and everybody else that will be watching the replay and everybody that's on today. So I do invite you back. Um,
thank you.
thank you, everyone. And until next time, we'll see you next week.